In previous videos, we've been looking back at the good of the NHL draft, but in today's video, we're going to be looking at some of the most recent NHL draft busts, and these are kind of from what I remember. So I did from 2008 up until now, and they had to be drafted into the top 10, so let's get right into the video. The NHL draft is where bad teams really get to look forward to something, and they get to look forward to building to their future, but sometimes that always doesn't work out, as some of the top players drafted are really not impactful players in the NHL. So now let's talk about 5 NHL draft busts in recent memory. Starting off with Connor McDavid, and let's be honest, this guy might be the biggest bust in the history of drafts in all sports. Starting off, let's talk about Yakupov of the Edmonton Oilers, taken first overall back in 2012. He's played in 350 games and has 62 goals and 74 assists for 136 points. He's currently playing with the Colorado Avalanche. He had a short stint with the St. Louis Blues, and what really went wrong for this guy is he just wasn't a first overall pick. There's nothing really to sugarcoat it. He had a decent first year in the lockout season, and then really after that it was all downhill, and Yakupov really didn't benefit from playing with the Oilers because in my opinion he's a talented guy who needs to play with talented players. He needs to play with playmakers. In my opinion, if he was playing with Connor McDavid right now, I think he would be a guy that could put up 60 to 70 points, but he's not. He's a bottom 6 forward now, or that's what people are thinking of him just because of how history has went with him. He was playing bottom 6 in Colorado, and this talented guy, he does have some good offensive skill, but he's really not going to put up solid numbers when he's playing with checking forwards. So Yakupov, it really just didn't work out for him in the NHL, being drafted first overall. Next up is Nikita Filatov, drafted originally 6th overall in the 2008 NHL draft by the Blue Jackets. He's only played in 53 games and has 6 goals and 8 assists for 14 points. And those kind of numbers from a 6th overall pick, in my opinion, I consider that a bust. He's currently playing in the KHL for a team that I have on the screen here, but I'm not even going to try to pronounce that because there is no way I'm going to even come close to getting that right. His last North American professional season came in the AHL with the Senators affiliate team. He played in 15 games and had 12 points, but then after that ultimately decided to go back to the KHL where he's had some pretty good seasons. He put up 40 points back in 16-17, so ultimately that is where he belongs in my opinion. He wants to play in the KHL. Things just didn't work out over here in North America, and unfortunately that does suck for the Blue Jackets, as they could have got someone a lot better who could still be benefiting their team with that draft pick, but ultimately all the draft picks don't work out. Next up is Griffin Reinhart, originally drafted with the 4th overall pick back in the 2012 NHL draft, and it really just hasn't worked out for him so far. Is one of the guys that getting taken by Vegas in the expansion draft really didn't benefit his NHL career. He's played in 37 games and has 2 assists for just 2 points, and his last professional season he played in the AHL for the Chicago Wolves. 60 games played, 2 goals, 10 assists for 12 points, and he was a plus 20. So this past year was decent for Griffin Reinhart in the American Hockey League, but that is kind of what it's looking like. He's going to spend the majority of his time down in the American Hockey League. He's going to be one of them players that are going to be an AHL veteran. It really does suck for the New York Islanders that they don't have their franchise defenseman, because they could really use a young solid defenseman right now, but drafting Griffin Reinhart really didn't work out, and they are still searching for that defenseman that they need very badly. Next up is Ryan Murray of the Columbus Blue Jackets. He was originally taken with the 2nd pick back in the 2012 draft. That's a bit of a recurring theme here. The 2012 draft certainly wasn't very kind to the NHL teams. He's played in 264 games and has 12 goals and 60 assists for 72 points. So those are some decent numbers, but from a guy who you brought in to be your franchise defenseman and only 72 points in 264 games, and his plus minus hasn't been great either. He was a minus 10 in one season. This past season he spent 1 game in the AHL, but spent 44 in the NHL with the Blue Jackets, putting up just 1 goal and 11 assists. He was a plus 4 this past season, so not too bad, but in my opinion he is a bust with the 2nd overall pick, and he's a guy that probably would have got drafted way further down if there was to be a redraft. He's been a decent defenseman for the Blue Jackets, but certainly not a top 2 defenseman and a franchise guy that they wanted when they drafted him with the 2nd overall draft pick. And the last guy we're going to talk about is Scott Glennie, originally drafted with the 8th overall pick back in 2009 by the Dallas Stars, and he only appeared in 1 NHL game, and he had 2 penalty minutes. So the only stat he has right now in the NHL is penalty minutes. The rest of his seasons he spent in the AHL with the Texas Stars, and his most recent season was the 2016-17 season where he played for the Manitoba Moose, putting up 20 points in 45 games, but he did not play professionally this past season, so he really has turned out to be a bust. I mean, 8th overall. Dallas fans have to be really salty about this draft pick. They haven't really been getting much luck, obviously, with the Valeri Nichushkin situation, and then you have this guy here who really probably a lot of you guys never even heard of. I really never even heard of him before doing research for this video. 27 years old, 8th overall, and he's not even playing in the NHL anymore. Very unfortunate for him and for the Dallas Stars organization, but I guess it just wasn't meant to be. So that is going to wrap up today's video, just looking back at some of the NHL draft busts of recent years. So obviously this doesn't include all time, so don't go commenting, where's this guy? These are just players that I'm familiar with and kind of in my era. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comment section below. Hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe for daily NHL content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.